The town of Briar Ridge had a way of swallowing secrets. Tucked between cornfields and a stretch of woods where cell service died, life moved slow enough that people noticed when your porch light stayed on too late or your truck wasn't at church on Sunday. But some things went unnoticed, sometimes by choice, sometimes by fear. On a brittle autumn evening, when the wind carried the smell of rain and burning leaves, a girl sitting on a farmhouse porch lifted her hand in a way that seemed ordinary to most, but not to the dog watching her. If you like stories that linger, that feel as if they could happen just down the road, stay close. Your support helps keep stories like this alive. The patrol car rolled through Briar Ridge like a shadow that belonged to no one. Deputy Owen Hale gripped the wheel tighter than usual, the rain tapping against the windshield like impatient fingers. Beside him, his K-9 partner, Rook, a German shepherd with eyes too sharp for comfort, shifted, ears pricked toward the right side of the road. Owen followed the dog's gaze. A farmhouse, weathered and quiet, sat hunched against the dark. The porch light glowed weak, like an old bulb begging for retirement. A girl, 16, maybe 17, rocked slowly in a chair, her pale hand brushing strands of hair away from her face. Nothing unusual at first glance, except the way her fingers moved. Tap, pause, tap, tap. Rook let out a low growl, not threatening, but alert, the kind that made Owen's stomach tense. "Easy, boy," Owen muttered, "just a kid on a porch." But the rhythm of her hand wasn't casual. It was deliberate, the smallest flick of her pinky, then her thumb. A blink too long, then the same motion repeated. Owen slowed the car. The girl's eyes never fully met his, but there was something desperate in the half-glances she threw toward the headlights. Not waving, not calling out, just repeating that odd pattern with her hand. Rook barked once, sharp and urgent. Owen parked on the gravel's shoulder, wiped rain off his forehead, and tried to convince himself he wasn't imagining things. He'd learned long ago that in Briar Ridge, reading too much into small details could make you look paranoid. And paranoia didn't earn you friends. It earned you whispers. Still, he stepped out. The rain wasn't heavy, but the air smelled like wet earth and rusting metal. Owen adjusted his hat, nodding politely as he approached the porch. "Evening," he called out, voice steady, non-threatening. "Everything all right here?" The girl didn't answer right away. She blinked again, the same too-long blink, then shook her head almost imperceptibly. Her hand shifted once more. Tap, pause, tap, tap. Owen's pulse picked up. He'd seen this before. Years ago, in training, they'd taught certain emergency signals used by hostages. Barely noticeable unless you knew what to watch for. Someone's in trouble. But who? Behind the girl, the curtains in the farmhouse shifted. A shadow moved across the dim light inside. "Family home?" Owen asked, keeping his tone casual. The girl licked her lips, nodded too quickly. But her eyes said something else. Pleading, careful. Rook climbed halfway out of the patrol car's open window, ears rigid, a low whine pressing from his chest. He didn't like whatever scent drifted out of that farmhouse. The screen door opened. A man stepped onto the porch. Mid-40s, work boots heavy with mud, hands too clean for the kind of clothes he wore. His smile was forced, stretched thin like it had been practiced in the mirror. "Deputy," he said warmly, but his eyes didn't match. "What brings you out this way?" "We're just fine here." The girl's fingers stilled instantly, folded tight into her lap. Owen forced a nod, every instinct warning him not to push too hard, too fast. "Evening. Just routine patrol. Rainy nights like this, you never know who might need help." The man's smile held. "We're good. My niece likes to sit outside, even in weather like this." "Crazy kid." He chuckled, but it sounded flat. "Niece." The girl flinched slightly at the word, so faint most people wouldn't notice. But Owen noticed. Rook noticed. "I see," Owen said slowly. His hand brushed the edge of his belt, not quite resting on his holster, but close enough that the gesture could pass for casual. "Well, if you folks are fine, I'll be on my way." He tipped his hat, turned slightly back toward the car, but his peripheral vision stayed locked on the girl. Her hand moved again, this time just once. Tap, pause, then her fist clenched. "Don't leave." Owen's chest tightened. Behind him, Rook barked again, sharp and piercing through the night, as though demanding the truth be acknowledged. The man's jaw tightened. For the briefest second, the mask slipped from his smile. Owen knew then that if he drove away, something terrible would be buried in that farmhouse forever. But stepping forward meant walking into something he didn't fully understand. And in Briar Ridge, crossing the wrong man could cost you more than your badge. The rain fell harder. The girl's eyes glistened with something raw and unspoken. Rook growled, low and steady. And Owen realized whatever was hidden inside that house was about to drag the whole town into the dark. The man's smile had the heaviness of wet rope. Owen felt the tension in it, how it pulled too tight at the corners, how it wanted to strangle the space between them. The girl's knuckles whitened on the arms of the chair, her breath barely stirring. Rook jumped from the car, paws landing on gravel with a dull thud. His hackles rose, a warning carved into fur and muscle. "Easy there, officer," the man said, voice even but edges frayed. No need for the dog. Owen kept his tone level. Rook doesn't bark unless he's got reason. The man shifted his weight. The porch boards groaned like they resented holding him. "Reason, huh? You got a warrant, deputy?" Owen's pulse hammered in his ears. "No warrant. Just checking in." He paused, choosing words like stones on thin ice. "Town's quiet tonight. Too quiet sometimes. That's when things get missed." The girl glanced at him, just a flick of her eyes, but landed sharp as a blade. A plea, a warning, both. The man noticed. His jaw worked. "Tell you what," he said, voice softening. "You want to come in? I'll put coffee on. Rain's not letting up anytime soon." It wasn't an offer. It was a dare. Owen's got twisted. He knew walking inside could be stepping into a hole you don't climb out of, but turning away would brand him a coward in his own eyes. And worse, it would abandon the girl. He gave a small nod. "Coffee sounds good." The girl flinched as though she hadn't expected him to say yes. Rook moved closer to her, brushing against her leg. She slipped one trembling hand down, brushing his ear like she was memorizing the feel of something real. Owen caught it. So did the man. The smile cracked further. The kitchen smelled faintly of bleach under the mask of brewing coffee. Too clean for a farmhouse, too recent a scrub. Owen's boots squeaked on linoleum. The girl trailed behind, her bare feet nearly silent. "Sit," the man gestured. His tone was polite, but it carried the weight of an order. Owen sat. Rook remained on his feet, eyes tracking every move. The man poured coffee, setting the cup in front of Owen with a deliberate clink. Fresh. Ground this morning. Owen noticed a faint tremor in the man's hand. Not nerves, calculation. Something rehearsed. "You live here long?" Owen asked casually. "Family land," the man said. "Been ours for 3 generations." The girl dropped into a chair at the far end of the table. She tugged her sleeve down too quickly. Rook's eyes cut to movement. Bruises. Owen's throat went dry. "You're new in town, though," Owen said carefully. The man's eyes flicked up. A test passed between them. "1.5 years," the man said. "Not so new. Too new to be old land. Too long to be a stranger." Owen sipped the coffee, bitter and thin. His badge weighed heavy on his chest. The girl coughed lightly, hand brushing her lap. Tap. Pause. Tap, tap. The man's gaze snapped toward her. Just a glance. Quick as a whip, she froze, shrinking into her chair. Owen's hand slid across the table, fingers drumming once. A rhythm, steady as heartbeat. She blinked. Recognition flashed across her face. He was telling her, "I see you." The man rose. "Need more sugar." As he turned, Owen caught the way his shirt pulled at the back, fabric straining over something long and rigid tucked under the belt. "A gun." Rook growled low, his body tight with readiness. Owen's thoughts ran like floodwater. No backup, no warrant, just him, the girl, and a man who smiled like a knife. He weighed his options, everyone leading somewhere dangerous. Lightning split the sky. For a moment, the kitchen lit up like a flashbulb photo. In that white blaze, Owen saw something he shouldn't have. On the far wall, partly hidden by a hung quilt, the outline of a door. Not a normal door, shorter, narrower, with iron hinges too heavy for a pantry. Basement access. Hidden. The girl's eyes flicked toward it, then away. Too fast to be mistake. The man returned with a sugar jar, setting it down with deliberate calm. You ever think, the man said slowly, pouring sugar grains a hiss in the coffee, that dogs see too much? Smell too much? Almost like they know things we don't want them to know. His eyes locked on Rook. Owen's blood chilled. Rook didn't blink, didn't breathe wrong. His teeth barely parted, a low rumble building like distant thunder. The girl whispered then, so faint Owen almost missed it. Don't let him take you down there. Owen looked at her. Her lips had barely moved, her eyes still locked on her lap. But he'd heard. The man's head tilted. What's that, sweetheart? Nothing, she said quickly, too quickly. The man smiled again, and it looked like something dead wearing skin. The night thickened. Rain battered the roof. Somewhere in the house, a door slammed from the wind. Or maybe not the wind. Owen stood slowly. Appreciate the coffee, he said. You leaving? The man asked. Not yet. The man's smile faltered. Then where you going? Owen's hand hovered near his belt. His other hand rested lightly on the table. Fingers flexing once, a silent cue to Rook. Wherever the girl needs me to go, Owen said. The man's face hardened. She doesn't need anything. She's family. The girl whispered again, lips barely moving. Please. And Owen knew, whatever waited behind that hidden door, it wasn't just her secret. It was the town's. The man lunged first. The motion was sudden, explosive. The jar of sugar shattering against the wall, his hand grabbing for the weapon tucked beneath his shirt. Rook launched like a thunderclap, teeth sinking into the man's arm before steel-cleared leather. The girl screamed. Owen drew his gun, voice cutting through chaos. Don't move. The man fought against fur and teeth, cursing, blood spraying across the linoleum. His other hand reached for Owen's gun hand, desperate, wild. The quilt on the wall shook loose in the struggle, tumbling to the floor. The door behind it was fully exposed now, black iron hinges gleaming in the lightning's afterglow. The girl collapsed to her knees, sobbing, hands pressed to her mouth. Don't open it, she whispered. Please don't open it. But Owen knew it was too late. The door was open now, even if still locked. Open in the way secrets break loose, spilling rot into the air. And what waited beneath that farmhouse had been waiting a long time. The farmhouse kitchen pulsed with violence, sugar shards scattered, coffee bleeding into linoleum, Rook locked in the man's arm with bone-deep ferocity. The man roared, twisting, trying to throw the dog off. Rook, hold. Owen barked, eyes locked on the weapon, in the man's free hand. The muzzle lifted, desperate and shaking. Owen fired first. The shot cracked through the kitchen, deafening. The man stumbled, weapon clattering across the floor. He collapsed, groaning, his shirt darkening with blood. Rook backed away only when Owen gave the signal, his teeth red. The girl crouched in the corner, arms wrapped tight around herself. Tears streaked her cheeks, but she didn't look at the man bleeding on the floor. She looked at the quilt now lying in a heap, the short, narrow door behind it. Her lips trembled. You shouldn't have come. Owen kept his gun trained on the man, but his attention snagged on her words. What's down there? She didn't answer. Instead, she stared at the iron hinges like they were alive. The man spat blood, coughing. His voice was ragged but carried a strange, bitter pride. You think you're saving her? You don't even know what you stepped into. Hale, that door's been locked longer than you've been wearing that badge. Owen's chest tightened. He wanted to call for backup, but something told him that bringing more people here would only spread the poison faster. The girl rose unsteadily to her feet. Please, she whispered. Don't open it. It'll only make things worse. But the iron sang to Owen's nerves, the wrongness of it pulling him closer. He edged toward the door. Rook followed. Silent now, every muscle tight as a bowstring. The man's laughter cracked through the room, ugly and broken. Go ahead, play hero. Open it. Let them all see what your town buried. The lock wasn't modern. Heavy, rusted, but oiled recently. Someone had been tending it. Owen tested the handle. It gave under his touch. The girl screamed, rushing forward. "Don't!" She clawed at his arm, but he pushed gently, firmly, guiding her back. "I have to know," he said softly. Her face collapsed into despair. The door groaned open. A cold draft exhaled from below, carried with it a smell that was not just damp earth, but something sour, metallic, old. Rook sneezed, growled, then stepped forward, as if he'd been waiting for this. Owen flicked on his flashlight and descended. The basement was carved from stone, walls sweating with moisture. Wooden beams creaked under the weight of years. The light cut through dust that clung thick as cobwebs. Cages, 4 of them, lined against the far wall. Iron bars, some bent, some stained. Inside, nothing but shredded blankets, broken chains, and deep gouges carved into stone by fingernails. Rook whined low, pacing. His tail was rigid, ears pressed back, Owen's throat locked. This wasn't a storm cellar. It was a prison. On a small table sat a row of jars, each sealed, each cloudy with liquid that warped the shapes inside. He lifted the light. Small bones floated within, pale and delicate. Children. The girl's voice drifted from the stairs, soft as a ghost. "They told me if I ever signaled, if anyone ever came, the whole town would pay." Owen turned, the flashlight shaking in his grip. "What are you talking about?" Her eyes glistened in the beam. "It's not just him. They all knew. They let it happen." The man's voice, still upstairs, shouted hoarse and defiant. Briar Ridge was built on sacrifice. You think folks didn't notice when their kids went missing? They noticed. They just wanted their town to survive. The words hit Owen harder than the gunfight had. He looked again at the cages, the bones, the scratched stone where someone had tried to mark days, weeks, years. The girl stepped into the basement, her face hollow. "I was supposed to be next. But he kept me, said I was special, said the others were necessary." Her body trembled. She lifted her sleeve. Fresh bruises, old scars. He was keeping me for later. Rook pressed against her side, a silent shield. Owen swallowed the bile rising in his throat. His badge burned like a brand. "Who else knows?" The girl's answer was barely audible. "Everyone." He wanted to deny it, to argue, but then he remembered. Families that never spoke of their missing. Sheriff's reports filed thin, closed too fast. Whispers at the diner, silence at church. They'd all been complicit. The man's laughter bled down the stairwell. "You think you can drag this into the light? Go ahead. See how fast the town turns on you. See how fast they make you the villain." The girl's eyes locked on Owen's, desperate. "Please, don't let them send me back." Owen holstered his weapon slowly, then placed a hand on Rook's collar. He had no plan, only instinct. "Come on," he said. "We're leaving." The man screamed curses as Owen guided the girl up the stairs, Rook guarding her flank. "You'll regret this, Hale. You don't know what's waiting once the truth's out." Owen didn't answer. He just tightened his grip on the girl's shoulder and pushed through the storm. News spread by dawn. Not from Owen. He'd told no one. But because secrets that old leak like blood through bandages. By midday, the farmhouse was surrounded, not by deputies but by townsfolk. Some cried, some raged, some stood silent, heads bowed in shame. The cages, the bones, the jars, all dragged into daylight, and with them, Briar Ridge's soul. The man didn't survive the night. Blood loss, the doctor said. Some whispered it was mercy. Others called it justice. The girl stayed quiet, speaking only when pressed. She named no one. She asked for nothing. Owen knew why. She didn't trust them. Not anymore. Maybe not ever. He stood with her at the edge of the field as dusk fell, Rook sitting at her feet. The town's lights glowed behind them, trembling like guilty lanterns. "You're safe now," Owen said. Her voice was a fragile thread. Safe doesn't mean the same thing it used to. He had no answer. The wind carried the smell of rain again, and somewhere far off, a church bell rang hollow. Owen placed a hand on her shoulder, gentle, steady. "We'll find a way forward." even if the whole damn town has to burn down to build it. She looked at him then, eyes raw but unbroken, and for the first time, she didn't seem invisible. Rook nudged her hand, demanding touch. She stroked his head, lips trembling into the smallest, saddest smile. In that moment, Owen realized saving her had already changed everything. For her, for him, for Briar Ridge. The truth was out now, and once out, it never went back. The farmhouse rotted in silence after that. Some said it should be torn down. Others said it should stay, a warning. But for Owen, it wasn't the house that lingered. It was a girl's hand signal on the porch that night. So small, so fragile, noticed only by a dog who refused to look away. A signal that cracked a whole town open and left it in tears.